Hey there, and welcome to the Food as Medicine Show with Dr. Ann, the place to be for real talk with real people and real results so you can heal yourself naturally. I'm your host, Dr. Ann, and I'm a board-certified pharmacist and health coach specializing in treating cholesterol without medications. You can learn more about me at drann.com, spelled A-N-H as in hungry. I always spell it out since people usually forget the silent H at the end, and I want you to be able to find me. Now, I'm hoping by episode 30 or so I won't have to spell it out anymore because I'm running out of words that start with H. Today, I want to give a big shout out to VP Carter for leaving a review and wanting to be proactive about your health, Nikki L., Sue Monhate for saying it's her new favorite podcast, The Entrepreneur's Library, and Denny Cray. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Message me on my Facebook page and I can correct it on a future episode. Thanks to you guys for leaving a review of the Food as Medicine Show. Your listens and your reviews matter because that's what helps boost us in the rankings and helps more people find the show so they can hear the Food as Medicine message. We sincerely appreciate your feedback and appreciate you for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. After today's episode, make sure you take a minute to leave a review in iTunes by searching for the Food as Medicine Show. Let us know what you think and tell us where you're from because we really want to know and we want to give you a shout out. 1 or 2 sentences will do and it will help us improve the show. I want to let you know that the opinions expressed on this show may not represent my opinions and the show is for general information only, not a substitute for medical care. So prior to beginning any new health program, I recommend you consult with a qualified health professional. Today we have 2 very special guests, Dr. Gruber, who is the founder of CAM Wellness Institute with over 12 years of clinical experience working with chronically ill patients. Dr. Gruber created a detox program that has provided consistent weight loss results for his patients. And we also have Ed Winslow, who is a marketing manager for CAM Wellness Institute, and his daughter was a patient of Dr. Gruber's, and he became one too. In today's episode, Dr. Gruber, Ed, and I chat about the 2 most inflammatory foods that most people are sensitive to, which 2 supplements help with concentration, mood, and focus, how Ed is able to maintain his eating program, and what a typical day of meals looks like for him, how much protein people really should be eating per day, what you should be drinking every morning, and how to support your liver during a detox program. All right, let's go chat with Ed and Dr. Gruber. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Food as Medicine Show. Today I have 2 very special guests. We have Dr. Gary Gruber from the CAM Wellness Institute, as well as Ed Winslow, who is the marketing manager for CAM Wellness Institute. And I'm just delighted to have them on the show. And if Dr. Gary Gruber could just dive right in and introduce himself and how he got into establishing the Institute, that would be great.
All right, Ann, thank you very much for having me. And so my background is I'm a naturopathic physician, and I studied at the University of Bridgeport. I also now am a teacher there. I'm a professor of environmental medicine. And in naturopathic medicine, one of the things that we focus on are detox programs. And I was instrumental in putting together a clinical program for the University of Bridgeport College of Naturopathic Medicine's clinic for patients. So I've been doing detox programs for a very long time, and it probably goes back at least 12 years. I've done them personally. I had to do them for class. I had to report on them. I had to understand the science behind them. And in doing this, then ultimately doing it with patients in my clinic. My clinic, by the way, is Family and Environmental Medicine, where I practice biological medicine. I noticed in doing detox programs that there were certain principles that applied to the program, that if these principles were followed, people would not only feel better as a result of the detox program, but there was a side effect. And I always had to tell them about the side effect. It was that they would lose weight. It was an unintended consequence of doing the detox program. So as a result, I began putting together and formulating what I call the 6 tenets of permanent weight loss. And we've talked about that a little bit over the past couple months in videos that we've done in Google Hangouts. And so that's really how CAM Wellness is being put together, is to begin educating patients, or people, not just patients, but people, about detoxification program and how that can help them with their health goals. And so we started with weight loss because that's just an unintended consequence of the detox program, but it's an issue that I think a lot of people really struggle with, particularly when it comes to permanent weight loss. It's one thing to do a diet and then lose weight, but it's another thing to really keep that weight off and get back to a normal, healthy weight and lifestyle. And so I think that's what we've ultimately gotten to in the program so far. We have other programs that we're going to be talking about, but those are coming down the road. Right now we're just focused on the detox and the 30-day weight loss program.
Sure. And from what I understand, Ed, he's the marketing manager for CAM Wellness Institute, but he's also someone who's benefited from your detox program. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, my background is, or how Dr. Gruber and I connected was, originally Dr. Gruber was looking for some help with his website and local exposure for his practice. And we just got to know each other pretty well, and we talked about a lot of different interesting things, like how do we sell products to people who can benefit from all these great products, but ultimately how to get this great information out to a broad market so they could learn how these programs can benefit them. And that's where we got into Google Hangout. But what happened, there were a couple things that happened with me as a, first I was an internet marketer, but one of the things that happened in my family was I have a college-age daughter who, out of the blue, came down with psoriasis, and it's really started to cover her entire body over a period of 6 months. So last May, when she came home from school, she was just a total wreck. I took her immediately over to see Dr. Gruber, and he got her on a program, a gluten-free program, and various natural medicine probiotics and biomedicine. And within about 6 weeks, her skin was clear. I mean, she went from being totally covered to being clear, and I saw the power of diet. And I was just sort of blown away by it, and I started to really understand, how all this, the importance of diet, the importance of detox programs. And then right around that time, we started to work on CAM Wellness and the beginning phase of an e-commerce platform with the site. So I figured, well, I better find out what this detox is all about. So I said to Dr. Gruber, I said I should probably try one of these. And, a couple days later, I get this box in the mail, and it sat there for about a week. And I'm like, what do I do with this thing? So I opened it up, took all these powders out, and it was pretty simple. And so I figured, okay, I went out and I bought some strawberries and blueberries, and I got some almond milk, and I started to make these for a 2-week period. It actually lasted a little longer because it lasted for about 16 or 17 days. But I started creating these smoothies for breakfast and for lunch, and I had no expectations at all. I didn't even know what this is about. I didn't even want to, because I didn't want to say anything to Dr. Gruber because he had sent it to me, and I sat on it for a week. So I didn't want to say that I hadn't used this package that he sent me. So anyway. So after about the 5th day, all of a sudden, I just, I was like, wow, my mind is extremely clear. And I started to get very, very focused. I'm like, wow, I feel really good. My mind is clear. I'm able to work more effectively. And then I also started to notice that my clothes were starting to get a little bit loose. And I went and weighed myself on the scale, and maybe I was down a pound or two, nothing big. But I think what happened was, just because I eliminated inflammatory foods from my system, I started to my body just started to deflate. And so anyway, so that's how it started. And then we started to utilize Google Hangout as a way to create some really neat dialogue and ask questions, just like we're doing here. And that became the strategy. So we are utilizing primarily as ways for marketing strategies. We're utilizing Google Plus and Google Hangouts. We're using blogs, and we're using Facebook. And it's been a very, very effective strategy. We're getting some really awesome response, and we're just really getting. It's really pretty much, we're just out of the gate. It's only been a couple weeks, so that's the update. That's where we are.
Awesome. So I'm curious, Gary or Dr. Gruber, what kind of protocol did you put Ed's daughter on that helped clear up her psoriasis?
Oh, that's an interesting question, because her condition was pretty severe. She had sent me photos from school when she was at college, and her legs, her abdomen, her belly were just completely covered with these lesions, and it very discolored, very red. So we start from very basic principles, and that is to take out of the diet foods that are inflammatory, foods that you're sensitive to. Now, gluten is a very, very common sensitivity, and even if you're not celiacs, we know from statistical work that's been done with epidemiological studies that perhaps 45 to 55% of the population of this culture has a sensitivity to gluten. And what does that mean? Well, that means that with this sensitivity that many people are not even aware that they have a chronic inflammation going on in their digestive system, in their digestive tract. And what happens is this low-grade inflammatory process changes the way your digestion works. You cannot digest nutrients properly. You cannot assimilate or absorb nutrients properly. We think that it may even change the microbiome, the beneficial bacteria that we live symbiotically with. So it's really important to identify foods that you're sensitive to, and sometimes that's not easy. So we can do some testing, and it's not really the greatest science in terms of testing yet. I think it's going to get better, but we know clinically what works, and it seems to me that if a person eliminates gluten, which gluten is in wheat, gluten is in wheat, barley, and rye, so you eliminate those three grains, and dairy. Dairy is a highly inflammatory food, and it's the protein in dairy, casein, that people are very sensitive to. Those two alone will cover most people's sensitivities. So that's where we started with Ed's daughter, is just to start that diet. Now, she was at school, and I didn't really want to do any kind of biological medicines when she was away, because I felt that it was important for her to be close. So I started her on the diet, and when she came back, we then started working with these remedies that come from Germany. A company called Sanum makes isopathic remedies. They're very similar to homeopathic remedies, and in her condition, we just used the remedies that help to heal the digestive tract, as well as target a certain bacteria that we think may have caused the psoriasis, and that happened, in her case, happened to be strep. So what we did was we used a remedy that helped the immune system target this particular bacteria, strep. And the immune system, as it strengthens, because we've taken the stress off of the immune system in the gut by eliminating these inflammatory foods, so the immune system is now strengthening, and now it can handle this bacteria that we think was causing the psoriasis, and that's how we got the condition to heal and to clear up.
That's fascinating that
It's
there
great.
was a bacterial cause, but also a food cause to it.
Correct. And that's the principle of biological medicine, that that when you remove the obstacles of healing, that those obstacles interfere with the immune system, and you strengthen the immune system, and then you can use specific remedies that help the immune system target this particular bacteria. Then you eliminate that bacteria, which is the source of the autoimmune reaction that's going on, in this case of psoriasis.
So how did you figure out that it was the
It was the bacteria.
Yeah.
Because we took a very long history. So I spent a lot of time talking to her. What happened? When did it start? And we could pinpoint that in her case, it started really strongly after she had a sore throat. So most people who have just these really, really strong red sore throats, that's usually a strep bacteria. So that's how we made that connection, and that was the right connection for her.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So now, Ed, you've been on this anti-inflammatory type of diet for some time, right? How would you say it is now trying to maintain this type of lifestyle?
It's really pretty easy. I think one of the biggest things was that I never understood anything about food. I just ate whatever was there, and now I understand a lot more about food. Even if I'm not drinking smoothies or I sort of know a lot more about what foods to eat and what not to eat. And one of the things that I have the unique opportunity to interview Dr. Gruber on a constant basis. So it's like going to medical school, so I learn a lot. But it's actually sort of neat because we have a lot of videos that we've recorded on Google Hangout about certain topics, and I will tell you that if you watch these videos, we try and keep them pretty short, right around 10 minutes. Sometimes they go a little bit longer, but I will tell you that you'll come away with a huge amount of knowledge. And so so the answer to your question is that the education has made it very, very possible for me to maintain this lifestyle. So if I deviate from it, I know how to get back onto it. I know what foods are causing a problem and which ones are going to benefit me. And I will tell you that I am, my clothes are. I mean, it's not like I'm trying real hard to lose weight, but I've lost weight, and my face has gotten thinner. My clothes are definitely. I mean, I feel really good. And the other thing that's sort of interesting too is, that when I went through the detox program, and then I went into the 30-day permanent weight loss program, which was a variation of it, I got some other benefits that were pretty interesting, like that I noticed myself that I was very significant. Was like my skin started to smell better, my hair started to feel better, my fingernails became like better. Like I started to get these other health benefits, and I can see from that what the diet is doing to my system. So my energy level is pretty good. I would say my energy level is up, and then there was another thing that was pretty interesting too, which I think is a huge deal, was that I told Dr. Gruber about how my mind became very clear, and I sort of got focused after around my 5th day, and Dr. Gruber happened to notice that I might have a deficiency of B12 I'm not sure if it's a deficiency of B12, but certainly it's
methylfolate. So there's many people have a deficiency in methylating folic acid, and you probably know from your study that methylated folate is the bioactive form of folic acid, which is really, really important for some 3 or 4 major biochemical reactions. 2 of those reactions have to do with mood, and so by utilizing this idea that a lot of people, about 45% of the population, are missing this enzyme to methylate folic acid, we give just straight methylfolate, and that all of a sudden changes mood and concentration, and there are many other important ramifications of having this form of folic acid. And B12 is also a very integral part of the methylation process. It converts homocysteine back into methionine, and that's really important for cardiovascular health and some other very important issues like nerve system health. So that particular supplement, very simple supplement, can also help a lot of people with things like focus, sleep, cardiovascular issues, nervous system issues, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So that's why that little add-on came about for Ed.
Yeah, well, it's I've been taking the B12 and the whatever it's called.
Methylfolate.
And all I can tell you, I've been taking it every day, and I started to see, some positive results almost immediately. But now that I've been taking it now for about a few weeks, I'm finding that my focus is better. My thoughts are not as scattered, and the end result is that my productivity is up.
Awesome.
Which is pretty cool.
Wow, that might be something I need to investigate.
Yes, it's a good one.
So for the listeners out there, right? You're an internet guy. Sounds like you're probably not someone who's slaving around in the kitchen all day. So how do you make the nutrition lifestyle work for you on a regular basis? What are some of your strategies and tips?
Well, you know what? For breakfast every day now, I'm having this gluten-free rice Chex with strawberries and bananas, and I have almond milk, so I'm not having any dairy at all. No dairy. I shouldn't have coffee, but I have a little bit of coffee in the morning, and I'll use almond milk with that, and that works out pretty well for me. For lunch, well, now that it's getting, I'm switching my lunch a little bit, but I have gluten-free bread, and I'll just put on a little bit of hummus and maybe a little bit of chicken and a little piece of lettuce and some balsamic vinaigrette dressing on it, and that works great for me. And then for dinner, so that really gets me through the day. So if I get a little bit of hungry during the day, maybe I'll have a gluten-free bar, or I'll have some almonds or something like that. And then for dinner, I'm trying to avoid steaks because steak is acidic. I'm trying to have fish or chicken, vegetables. I'll have some rice, and trying to stay, as close to the high alkaline, vegetables that are out there. Broccoli and what else? I got broccoli and asparagus. So well, actually, there's a blog that where we've got a great video, and it's if you go to camwellness.net, there's a blog that about alkaline versus acidic foods, and If you watch, it's actually an awesome blog because it's great content. You got the video, and there's a link to a chart. And I'm looking at the chart on one of my other screens, and it's got a list on the. It's got a list. It's got 8 columns here, and on the very very left column, it's got the most alkaline list of foods, and then way over on the right, you've got all your extremely acidic foods like. It's got sugars and ice creams and shellfish and steaks and things like that. So anyway, so it's I've become very educated about this, and it's really really simple. But before this, I had tried over the years, tried to lose weight. I've tried all kinds of different things haphazardly and never followed through, and I never got any results. And this just seems to be really really simple to follow. So.
Awesome. So, Dr. Gruber, what do you think about so meat being acidic, right? Some people subscribe to the belief that if it's grass-fed, it's better for you. Or what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, there's no question that grass-fed. If you're going to eat beef, that grass-fed beef is the way to go. Why? Because when cows eat the grass, they convert that grass to essential fatty acids that are not inflammatory. Whereas if you eat food from cows that are raised on feedlots where they give these cattle corn and byproducts of the sugar industry like molasses, they convert those sugars and those grains into arachidonic acid, which is a highly inflammatory essential fatty acid. It's essential to have it, but if you consume too much of it, you build your cellular structure with that embedded in the cell. So if there's an inflammatory reaction, it's explosive inflammatory reaction rather than not. So we want to have grass-fed beef because the cattle are really good at converting the grass to omega-3s and omega-6 fatty acids, you see. But at the same time, what we want to make sure is that overall the diet doesn't have more than, say, 60 grams of protein every day, because our body is really not made to assimilate more than 60 grams a day. If you try to consume more than 60 grams, you're going to consume it, obviously, but the protein gets stored. It gets stored in your tissues, and it doesn't necessarily all get eliminated. A lot of it just gets stored, and that storage of proteins is one of the inflammatory problems with high protein in the diet. And as a matter of fact, I'll just tell you, because I have it sitting right here, there was a big study that was done in Europe with 60,000 women, and they just published this study, and it says that essentially that one of the major risk factors for diabetes is an acidic diet. It's not necessarily the acidity of each particular food, but when you look at the diet as a whole, what you consume during the day, okay, as a whole, if that diet is acidic, you're increasing the risk of diabetes.
That makes sense.
And diabetes is a highly inflammatory condition that leads to cardiovascular disease. And one of the functions one of the components of adult onset diabetes is also weight gain or obesity. So you have all of these different inflammatory things going on, and these great researchers are really corroborating what we have been telling our patients for quite some time, and that is it's really important to minimize the acidity in your diet and eat more alkalizing foods like vegetables and fruits and some of the grains that have protein like quinoa that have a good kind of amino acid profile, which is very important to rebuild a lot of the neurotransmitters and other immune functions that we have. So you need to have protein, but you cannot over-proteinate your diet because that becomes too acidic. We store that extra protein, and that tissue acidity is what leads to all kinds of conditions, of disease conditions.
So if someone was to eat some grass-fed beef, how often do you recommend they have it in their diet?
Again, you have to look at the amount of protein that you're having in your diet on a daily basis. So my recollection is, I don't have the chart in front of me, but you can figure that probably like a 4 to 6 ounce piece of beef is going to have somewhere in the area of 45 to 50 grams of protein. So you're already you're almost at the maximum level just with that piece of food alone. So what I tell my patients is that if you're going to have something that is that acidic in your diet, and you could do that every day, you have to balance it with a lot of fruits and vegetables. I mean, you really have to have a plate filled with vegetables, a big salad, you know, lots of potatoes are good, sweet potatoes, squashes. These kinds of foods are alkalizing, and that really helps. Also, you know, Ed will tell you that in the detox program, one of the things that we recommend is that you drink a glass of lemon or lime tea every morning. Okay, that's actually very alkalizing. It's even though it's citrus, it actually causes a biological reaction where you're making bicarbonate to offset the acidity, and that reduces your overall tissue acidity, and so that's a really good thing to start the day with.
Sure. So it sounds like if you recommend that if someone is to have protein, to minimize the animal sources and possibly get it more from plant sources of protein.
I believe that that's correct, and I think I'm not suggesting that everyone should be a vegan, but if you have a chronic illness, that's where you have to start. If you look at all of the diets that really are healing diets, the Gerson diet, the macrobiotic diets, these are all alkalizing diets. So if someone has a really chronic illness, that's the right place to start as a vegan. And if you want to lose weight, again, to alkalize the tissues really helps to reduce overall inflammation, and it provides more energy for each individual cell. If you have protein, too much protein in the interstitial spaces in between the cells, there's a lot of fluid, and if you have protein in that fluid, it blocks the oxygen from getting into the cell, and you need that oxygen in the cell to make energy efficiently. So all of the chemical reactions that these cells do require energy, but if you're not getting the right amount of oxygen drawn into the cell, then the cells are not going to make the right amount of energy, and you can't really have healing without good energy.
So would you say, you've been talking about alkalizing diets and anti-inflammatory foods. Does eating an alkalizing food help promote anti-inflammatory conditions?
It does, because if the diet is too acidic, it creates again this layer, this acidity in the tissues, and that changes the metabolism of the cells. In order for the cells to do all of the work that they do, whether it's making enzymes or making neurotransmitters or making hormones, in order for them to do that work, they need energy. And to make energy efficiently, the cells need oxygen. But the oxygen gets blocked when there's too much protein or too much acidity in the tissues.
Sure. And you talked briefly about, having some tea, like lemon tea in the morning, and how lemon itself is acidic, but the effect is alkalizing.
Alkalizing, correct.
So, what are some other examples of alkalizing foods that people should be incorporating into their diet? I know you mentioned them a little bit.
Well, alkalizing foods. So, well, I mean, Ed was reading off some of them off of the list. He has the chart right in front of him. But basically, you want to have foods that are from the brassica family, like kale and broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cabbage. Those are really good alkalizing foods. Sweet potatoes or yams are alkalizing foods. So the citrus are alkalizing: lime, lemon, oranges. And some of the grains are alkalizing as well. Avocado, what a great food we have with avocado. We have lots of nutrients, including essential fatty acids in avocado, and it's also an alkalizing food. What are the foods that are acidic? It's actually pretty simple. Dairy, wheat, some of the animal proteins like beef and shellfish and pork are foods that are acid-forming foods. In between, you have like chicken and turkey. You have, so the fowls are okay. Some of the more the game kind of meats like deer and buffalo, those are a little bit more alkalizing.
You know, it's really interesting when you look at this chart, because I've got it open right here, and it breaks it down. In the alkaline category, you've got 4 columns going from the highest to the lowest, and then on the right side, you've got your acidic foods going from your lowest to your highest. But when you look at it, for example, in the fruit category, like limes are of the highest. Limes, nectarines, raspberries, watermelon, tangerine, pineapple, those are very high alkaline. And then you look at the lowest are oranges, apricots, bananas, blueberries, pineapple juice, grapes, strawberries, all the things that I've been putting in my detox program. So I'm thinking, wow, I'm just learning something here that maybe I need to switch into the higher alkaline foods. But if you look at pomegranates and cranberries, those are almost in the high acidic category.
Really?
So those are yeah. So cranberry, let's see, plums, prunes, and tomatoes, they're sort of in the middle of acidic foods.
So,
in that category anyway.
And we always hear that, oh, pomegranates are so great for us and cranberries are so good for us.
Yes.
Interesting.
And that's true because of the antioxidant content. So we do need antioxidants in our diet because we live in a time post-industrial revolution where there's so many toxins in the environment, and we are absorbing these toxins on an hourly basis, and it's almost impossible to get away from this. So the antioxidants are very, very important as well in the diet.
So you actually mentioned you do have like a 14-day detox program. What are like the core components of that program?
Well, the detox program is designed to eliminate the inflammatory foods, to alkalize the diet, and to support liver and kidney function. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, in this industrial revolution period where we have so many toxins, these toxins are fat soluble. All organic toxins are absorbed into your body through water, food, air, and it's a 2-step process to remove these toxins. In other words, they just don't come into your body and then pass right out. You don't immediately just absorb them, breathe them in, and then eliminate them right away. They have to be biotransformed. They have to be changed into a different chemical in order for your body to eliminate them. So this is one of the things that a good detox program will do, is it supports the biological or the biochemical pathways that eliminate these organic toxins. So in the detox program, we have a certain amount of protein, certain amount of carbohydrates, lots of antioxidants. Also, we have botanical medicines, herbals, that are well known to support these pathways of eliminating toxins. So we talk about pathways of eliminating toxins. There's in the liver. There's two: phase 1, phase 2. So that the components of these medical foods actually raise the efficiency of the liver factory. I always tell the funny story to patients about one of my favorite TV shows from years and years ago was I Love Lucy. Okay? Black and white, I Love Lucy. And I'll never forget the one where she decides that she's going to go to work. She's tired of being a housewife. She's going to go to work, and she finds a job in the chocolate factory. And her job is to take the chocolate off the conveyor belt and wrap it and put it in the box. Okay? And you know, she's doing this and she's very pleased with what she's doing. It's very manageable. The factory manager walks in and says, okay, we're cranking up the conveyor belt. And as that's happening, she cannot keep up with the number of chocolates. And this is the comedy. She's stuffing the chocolates in her mouth and in her dress, and you know, they're going all over the place. But and then a lot of them are just floating right off the conveyor belt, you see. That's a lot like what happens with our liver in this culture where we're faced with toxins. If you think of the toxins as though they're the little pieces of chocolate, and the liver is Lucy processing each piece of chocolate, if they're coming into your body too quickly, they just get stored in the fat, and your liver just can't keep up with it. And that's really what happens. And then where do the toxins go? They go into fat cells. And when you want to liberate that fat in terms of like losing weight, let's say you want to lose 10 pounds of fat, that means not only do you have to process that fat by converting it into energy,
you have to process the toxins.
You have to process the toxins that are stored in that fat, and the liver gets bogged down. It can't do it. It cannot do it, and that's the reason why many people who try to lose weight in a very toxic culture, they get stuck. They reach a plateau and they can't lose any more weight. Patients come to me all the time. I've been on this diet forever. I don't even eat anything. I exercise and I cannot lose weight. As soon as they do something to support liver detoxification, like this 14-day detox program that we have, all of a sudden their liver is now processing the toxins better, and the fat just gets burned up in normal metabolism.
So what are the key components that you use to support the liver? You know, maybe the biological medicines or other foods or medicines that support the liver.
Okay, so in liver detoxification, you have, for example, foods that are really important are the brassica vegetables. Those are the broccolis, the kale. We've talked about those a little bit already. Cabbage. They get broken down into powder, and then they get stuffed into this overall medical food that we have for the 14-day detox. Along with, well, look, you have to have a lot of vitamins and a lot of minerals, because in terms of doing this chemical work, this biochemical work, it also takes cofactors in order to make the enzymes to make this whole process work. It's a obviously very intricate, and we also have to help the liver make energy, because again, it's making enzymes and making all of these products that are necessary to move these toxins out. So there's a lot of vitamins, a lot of minerals. There are amino acids like cysteine and glutamine and glycine. These are important nutrients that help support the production of a peptide called glutathione, which is one of the most important components for liver detoxification. Methionine, and then you want to stimulate the flow of all of these toxins out of the liver, because what happens is that the liver makes them into soluble chemicals that get dissolved into bile. Okay, and bile is in the liver, and bile is one of the major ways that you get flow of toxins out of your body. And so we have some botanical medicines like I'm thinking like dandelion root and what else? Oh boy, it's just escaped my mind. Well, anyway, it'll come to me. There are just a number of other botanical medicines that are supportive of helping the flow of bile out of the liver. And so all of these are all together, and that's how it all comes together and helps people remove these toxins.
Wow. That's a lot of great information, and I know we're coming up on time, so I want to be respectful of the time that you've already given me. If people want to find out more information about your 14-day detox program or any of other weight loss programs that you have, where could they find more information?
Well, let me just comment on that. We've got a website which is CAM Wellness, C-A-M, wellness.net. And you've got all the videos there. You've got all the information you would need about the 14-day detox program. You can buy it right online, and you can also go over to CAM Wellness Institute Facebook page, and we're posting information there on a daily basis. So there's a lot of really good information there. So you can find your way to the website to buy the detox kit from Facebook, or you can go directly to the website. But if you go to Facebook, just go to, I think it's facebook.com/CAM Wellness Institute. I think
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that would be the way to do it.
I'll make sure I link all those in the show notes. And then one last thing before we go, Dr. Gruber, if someone wanted to make a change in their life, and if they could just do one thing to have the biggest impact on their health, what would you suggest that they do?
I've seen this time and time again. I think the most important thing is to eliminate inflammatory foods, and I would say to really just start. It's amazing if you just give yourself a month, really strict, to avoid gluten and avoid dairy for 1 month. It's enormous benefits, enormous, because the immune system in the digestive tract is one of the most powerful systems that we have, and if it's overburdened by these inflammatory foods, then you're just not going to feel well. And also, I just want to point out one other thing. Inflammation is a stressful environment, and when you create a stressful environment because of inflammatory foods, your body is actually in a catabolic state, meaning that it just naturally, when you have a stress reaction, it breaks itself down. It's just part of the way the body is designed. If you remove that stress, then your body is anabolic. It will rebuild itself. So it's amazing what can happen with just removing that chronic inflammation that's going on because of these foods.
Those are some great parting words of advice. Well, thank you so much for your time, both Gary and Ed. I still appreciate it, and I know we'll be in touch in the future.
All right. Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much, Ann. Nice to meet you.
Same here. Have a great night.
Thank you too.
Hey, so I hope you enjoyed the show. That was Dr. Gruber and Ed Winslow from the CAM Wellness Institute. All the links and resources mentioned today are in the show notes at drann.com/009. And Ann is spelled A-N-H as in hungry. While you're there, remember to jump on the Food as Medicine VIP email list, and you'll get my free gift, the Clean Eating Rules. It's everything I learned about nutrition when I was on my bodybuilding journey, and it's my #1 guide for what to eat to lose weight, improve your biometrics, and get more energy. You'll also get all my favorite pearls from the show. I know the show can be a bit technical and detail-oriented with the guests sharing their specific protocols with what foods to eat, what foods to avoid, which supplements to take, etc. And if you're anything like me, you're probably multitasking and listening to this while driving, while running some errands, walking the dog, etc. So you don't have time to be jotting down notes of all the great information that's shared in this episode. So I've taken the notes for you, and by hopping on my email list, you'll get the show pearls delivered right to your inbox so you can refer back to them at any time. Finally, as a VIP email subscriber, you'll get the occasional love letters from me, which are emails sharing some of my favorite recipes and products, upcoming events, new information I've learned, and other goodies. So go to drann.com and enter your name and email address. Did you like this episode? Then leave a review and tell your friends, because we need more people to hear the Food as Medicine message. We've got plenty of great guests coming up, so stay tuned. Thanks so much for stopping by, and until next time, remember to eat consciously, because the world needs a healthy and vibrant you. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends, because we need more people to hear the Food as Medicine message. And make sure to head over to drann.com and sign up for free updates, because I share some insights in my email updates that I don't share anywhere else. And before you go, don't forget to leave a comment, because I absolutely love hearing from you.